Oh boy, this thing. What do I even have to say about this thing? I don't even have anything good to say. Everything I have to say is bad. Okay. Before I tear into this thing, let's go over its stats. The Gas Passer is an equipable item for the Pyro. It takes a secondary slot, and its stats go something like this. You have a gas meter, and you fill it up by waiting 60 seconds or dealing 750 damage. Once the meter is filled up, you can throw it. It doesn't resupply, by the way, and it will cover a small area in gas, and any enemies that step in it will be covered in said gas. For the next 10 seconds, any damage that the enemy takes will set them alight, dealing afterburn for 10 seconds. Let's go over the pros and cons of this equipable, okay? The pros are simple. It's in the game. That's a pro, right? I mean, if it's in the game, that means it can be used, that means you can use it. Okay, let's skip that part. The cons are, it's in the game. I mean, it's in the game, and you can use it, and it's bad, and it's trash, and there's literally no point in using it, but it's in the game, so that's a con. Jokes aside, the pros of this weapon include being able to lock down a choke with the area of effect gas, and discouraging enemies to go through it other they suffer afterburn. Also, it's useful in Pyro 1v1s, I guess, letting you give the enemy Pyro afterburn, but other than that, there's no real upside. It's just a throwable gas canister. It covers the area in gas, which when they take damage, they get set alight. So there's no real benefit other than locking down a choke. The cons, though, are what really ruin this weapon. The charge rate is absolutely absurd, having to wait 60 seconds or deal 750 damage just to cover an area for 10 seconds, and that area only giving the enemy afterburn is absurd. It's stupid. The area of effect is garbage for what the charge time is. Also, I'm not really sure if this is a glitch or an oversight or if it's anything like that, but right now, as is, people coding the gas don't count as quote-unquote wet. So, with the Neon Annihilator, the Gas Passer doesn't really combo with it well. If it did, that would be great. That would be a nice combo tool for Pyro to get guaranteed crits, but as is, it doesn't do anything. And for me at least, it has an unwritten downside, encouraging WM1. Look, I know this is a controversial topic in the community, at saying the least, so I'm not going to linger on this long. But WM1 is looked down upon, and for good reason. You don't have to be skilled to do well with it. But on a class like Pyro, as the Gas Passer, you can't really do much if it's waiting for the charge time. That's one of my main problems with it. If you are waiting on the charge time for the Gas Passer, you can't really do anything except use your flamethrower or use your melee weapon. And the flamethrower is basically just a better melee weapon at that point. And if there's any weapon in the Pyro's toolkit that encourages WM1, fog, I hate it. I just hate it. I can't stand it. To compare the Gas Passer to any of Pyro's other secondaries is just unfair. It doesn't feel right. The Flare Gun gives Pyro fast burst damage and long range damage with crits and projectile. Detonator and Scorch Shot allow him to hit long range and also being able to alight people at long range more consistently. All of his shotguns give him high burst damage, which is what Pyro needs if he wants to be viable in close quarters, because flamethrower is good and all, but if you don't have burst damage, the enemy's going to destroy you. Almost any other secondary would be better than the Gas Passer. Hell, even the thermal thrusters are better, giving Pyro added mobility which he can use to flank and to get at enemies that he wouldn't be able to otherwise. What does the Gas Passer do? It gives you your team a benefit that you get with just your primary weapon. So, at a stupid slow charge rate. Gas Passer is absolute garbage in its current state. We can all agree on that, right? Right? It doesn't do anything to help the Pyro. It just takes up space in his kit for what could be a powerful weapon with the flare gun, or a useful utility like the thermal thrusters. Though that doesn't mean it's unfixable. I have two main ideas to fix the gas passer, going from just a simple change to something that could really, really affect it, and that is actually quite interesting, though it could be game breaking, and I could see why you wouldn't want it. Option 1 is the simpler option. Cut the charge rate by 75%. Make it so it only takes 15 seconds, or dealing 200 or so damage, to fully recharge it. The area of effect lasts for 5 seconds, and afterburn lasts for 5 seconds, and make it so that people coated with it count as wet. These changes are to make it so that it will help your team more and give you a more consistent damage output, help your team a lot more, but it also makes the benefit a lot less, because now you can throw it out a lot more often, you don't have to be as conservative with it, but also the benefit isn't as big, and the area of effect doesn't last half as long. So now you can use it to retreat, to cover your back, you can use it to cover a flank route a lot more easily without having to wait that additional 60 seconds after throwing it, which is absurd. Option 2 is the more interesting option. Basically, have all normal stats, charge time, area of effect, time of afterburn, but just have it so people count as wet when coated in gas. My one addition that I really enjoy is that if you hit someone covered in gas with fire damage, flare, Oolong heater, your flamethrower, they would explode. Having an explosion radius centered on themselves, dealing about 50 damage to them, and suffering from fall off. The explosion radius would be about the size of the iron bombers, and this would give the pyro a DPS area of effect tool. This would also mean they actually have a risk, an actual semi-scary risk, if you step in the gas. Because before, oh no, I stepped in the gas. Now I take afterburn. I'm just going to go grab a health pack. Now, if the pyro uses it, okay, you're lit on fire, but you also just took 50 damage, and maybe if you're in a crowd, everyone else took 50 damage. This now gives you covering a choke point a lot more viability, because now if more than one person gets in and you hit them on fire, that's 2 big explosions of 50 damage each with fall off. That could hit multiple people, leading to about 70 damage on multiple people. That's it. That's the only benefit. It gives you a chance to deal a lot of damage in a small area, and the benefit actually equals the wait time. Both of these changes, I think, would really fix the weapon and give it an actual place in viability, but I really do hope if Valve is going to change it, they choose the second option. And both these changes are really good and would make the gas passer so much better, though that really isn't saying much. It would just make the gas passer so much fun to use because you either have to be less conservative with it, or you either get to deal massive burst damage to large crowds, both of which add a fun dynamic on, oh, should I throw it here or should I throw it here? Either way, both these changes are really cool and honestly really interesting ideas. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. If you didn't, I don't know. I don't really care. Leave a nasty comment or some shit. Anyways, this has been the Cucker. Have a good evening.